All right, folks, we have just a few more people. And up next is somebody that is a very important person to Sasha Shulgin, and that is Paul Daley. Paul has been the main protege of Sasha Shulgin. He's a leading psychedelic chemist and co-founder and chief science officer of the Alexander Shulgin Research Institute. Paul.
Well, thank you for letting me up here again. I did the calculation. I first met Sasha at a psychedelics conference. At the time, I didn't know that there even were such things, but it was 48 years ago. I was just starting my last round of graduate studies at Berkeley, and he said, "Oh, in his inimitable way, he said, 'You're practically in my backyard. Come for a visit.'" So around November of 1977, I first walked into that lab that's been so aptly described this evening. And I don't know why, it took me like another 20 years to go out and have a life and marriage and children and science career at a big national laboratory to realize that my heart really belonged to Sasha. So anyway, I did start to kind of learn a little bit more about the history of him. I got to know Anne, got to watch kind of the scene around the farm, which is a very unique kind of community of all sorts. Peter asked me to relate one story that I think is kind of fun. So Sasha in the early 80s wanted to have an NMR, a nuclear magnetic resonance spectrometer. A device that would have probably been a great advance for him. These are the devices that are sort of the go-to instruments now for determining the final structure of something new that you've made or discovered. So he found one at an army base down near Monterey. They got it onto a rail car, and they railed it up to Martinez, about 10 miles away from the farm. Sasha's son Ted got a permit to forklift this device up to the farm. Now remember, the device itself at that point, these were done with big permanent magnets. You had two of them facing each other, and the magnets each are about the size of a small block Chevy V8. So they're kind of massive devices. Anyway, they cut a hole in their roof, dropped this device into one of the bedrooms with a crane, and then sealed the hole up and made it into a skylight. Well, okay, so years later, I knew that they never got it up and operating. There was some problem with the electronics, and they could never really get it rolling. So it turned out that as Sasha's health declined in around 2010, we really needed that bedroom back. And so I started kind of looking into, what was going to be involved with getting this device out, because it really kind of ate up a quarter of the room. And so I started, hitting the internet and looking for information about, how could you dismantle such a thing, because we didn't really want to cut a hole in the wall to get it out. Anyway, I ran into this description of safety around these devices, because, you don't want to have metal objects in your pockets, because they're going to get into the magnet like a black hole. Anyway, so I got to the bottom of this one account, and I realized, oh, this is a company in Livermore. Well, I worked in Livermore, so I thought, okay, I'll call these guys up. So I get on the line, talk to a receptionist, and I'd explain that there's this elderly chemist who's got a defunct NMR, and I'm looking for some advice on how to, get it out of the. And she, oh, you need to talk to Joaquin. I said, okay, I'll talk to Joaquin. So I get on the line. Remember, this is about 2010. And so I say to him, okay, this is the situation. We have this device, and it's, not operating. It's not likely to ever operate again. He's going, okay. Let me ask you this. Where are you calling from? I said, well, I'm in Northern California. He said, no. What town are you talking about? I said, this is Lafayette. It wouldn't by chance be on Shulgin Road. So as it turns out, he was one of the people in 1981 that they had brought in to see if they could get this thing operating, and unfortunately it was one of those all the king's horses and all the king's men could not get this thing running again. So I just want to say that there are so many stories about Sasha and Ann and his history and the farm. They just overflow. And it's been really the pleasure and honor of my life to contribute to this scene. With ASRI, we're hoping to keep the work going and bring out new molecules that have interesting properties that are unexpected and hopefully will better humanity and in some cases cause a little delight, because like we need more delight. I just want to stress that the one thing that I've always kind of come back to with this couple was their radical welcoming and open friendship to like all comers. The first time I visited Sasha in November of '77, I can remember vividly his standing down at the little landing by their dining room, and he calls out to me, "Hello, friend." And I thought to myself, I've met this gentleman once, and we talked for 5 minutes, and he calls me friend. But I started to get it after more exposure. So hopefully you can all kind of carry that forward and make friends and do some good for the rest of us. Thanks.